Good morning, Salem casters. It is Wednesday. It is the 28th of April, and today on our Bible study, we continue with the book of Acts, chapter 17 today. 17 weeks we've been together, and it's been an interesting ride. And I hope you join us, and I hope you do me a favor, press that share button so others can go through this Bible study with us together. Always have an opportunity to comment on our Bible study, and your comments, I'll try to include them. I'll look at them. I try to put together the Bible study slides on Tuesday. So if you make a comment, I will do my best to check it. It might not have been super great every week, but I'm going to try to make sure that we get your comments in if you would like to be interactive with our Bible study this morning. Okay, so we're on Acts chapter 17, and here we go. It's in Thessalonica. When Paul and his companions had passed through Amphipolis and Apollina, they came to Thessalonica, where there was a Jewish synagogue. As was his custom, Paul went to the synagogue, and on 3 Sabbath days he reasoned with them from the scriptures, explaining and proving that the Messiah had to suffer and raise from the dead. This Jesus I am proclaiming to you is the Messiah, he said. Some of the Jews were persuaded and joined Paul and Silas, as did a large number of God-fearing Greeks and quite a few prominent women. So Paul's continuing his ministry. This time he's in Thessalonica, and he's telling people about Jesus Christ. And not everybody is buying it, but some of the Jews were persuaded and joined Paul and Silas. A large number of Greeks believed, not all, and quite a few prominent women. But other Jews were jealous. So they rounded up some bad characters from the marketplace and formed a mob and started a riot in the city. Isn't it fun how people react? They rounded up some bad characters from the marketplace, formed a mob, and started a riot. Boy, doesn't it? And we've been starting riots for all sorts of things. We don't like something happening, let's start a riot. Our sports team didn't win. Let's start a riot. They rushed to Jason's house in search of Paul and Silas in order to bring them out into the crowd. But when they did not find them, they dragged Jason and some other believers before the city officials, shouting, "These men who have caused trouble all over the world have come here." Well, if you can't get the person who you're upset about, get somebody close. Get somebody who's there, who's ever convenient. Our sinful nature just amazes me. If you can't blame the people who are there, if you can't get them, get the closest thing you can and do what you want anyway. Always find that funny. And Jason was welcoming them into his house. They're all defying Caesar's decrees, saying that there is another king, one called Jesus. When they heard this, the crowd and the city officials were thrown into turmoil, and they made Jason and the others post bond and let them go. Wouldn't it be great if you just could preach the gospel and people would be okay with it? And it's not that there are some people that aren't okay with it. It's people who it's not the non-believers. Those are the people we're looking for. But there's always a certain set of non-believers who can't just be non-believers. They have to stop people from believing. I've never understood that. I've never understood the motivation of somebody who not only they don't believe themselves, but They have to feel like they have to stop other people from believing too, which of course is, I don't know, it's kind of a heinous act. I mean, they don't respect other people's beliefs. You have to believe like they do. Unbelievable. And we think we have problems today, and they had the same things then. In Berea, as soon as it was night, the believers sent Paul and Silas away to Berea. On arriving there, they went to the Jewish synagogue. Now the Berean Jews were of more noble character than those in Thessalonica, for they received the message with great eagerness and exclaimed the scriptures every day to see if Paul said was true. As a result, many of them believed and did also a number of prominent Greek women and many Greek men. There is always a harvest field. If people aren't receptive to you where you are, go to the next town. That's what Jesus said. That's what Paul is doing. Save who you can, and then move on. And if somebody rejects and tries to stop you, don't be stopped. Just move on. And that's exactly what Paul is doing. But some people can't be, evil people try to stop the word. But when the Jews in Thessalonica learned that Paul was preaching the word of God in Berea, some of them went there too, agitating the crowds and stirring them up. The believers immediately sent Paul to the coast, but Silas and Timothy stayed at Berea. Those who escorted Paul brought him to Athens and then left him with instructions for Silas and Timothy to join him as soon as possible. Interesting that people are so set in their beliefs that they will do anything to stop people from believing differently. They were so sure that Jews were the ones that crucified Christ. It was the Sanhedrin that set him up. It was them who said the lies, and the Pharisees and the Sadducees who set Jesus up for crucifixion falsely. And here they are again trying to do the same thing to Paul, Silas, and Timothy. In Athens, while Paul was waiting for them in Athens, he was greatly distressed to see the city was full of idols. So he reasoned in the synagogue with both Jews and God-fearing Greeks, as well as in the marketplace, day by day with those who happened to be there. A group of, Epicurean and Stoic philosophers began to debate with him. Some of them asked, "What is this blabber trying to say?" Others remarked, "He seems to be advocating foreign gods." They said this because Paul was preaching the good news about Jesus and the resurrection. In Athens, they had many gods: Zeus, Apollo, Athena, Aphrodite. And here's Paul trying to preach in the midst of all of that. All of that in a town that is Roman religious, Greek religious. Then they took him and brought him to a meeting in the Areopagus, where they said to him, "We may know what is this new teaching that is you are. May we know what this new teaching is that you are presenting? You are bringing some strange ideas to our ears, and we would all like to know what they mean." All Athenians and the foreigners who lived were spent their time doing nothing but talking about listening to the latest ideas. Excuse me, I'm going to turn on lights again. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Paul stood up in the meeting of the Areopagus and said, "People of Athens, I see that in every way you are very religious. For as I walked around, I looked carefully at your objects of worship. I even found an altar God. So you are ignorant of what this very thing you worship. And this is what I am going to proclaim to you. The God who made the world and everything in it is the Lord of heaven and earth and does not live in temples built by human beings. He is not served by human hands as if he needed anything. Rather, he himself gives everyone life and breath and everything else. From this one man he made all nations, that they should inhabit the whole earth. And he marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands. God did this so that they would seek out and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from any one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being, as some of our own poets have said, we are his offspring." Okay, this is what he's done. He's found everybody in Athens will pray to one of these gods, whatever these gods were, okay? Whether it's Zeus, Athena, and Athens is named for Athena. And they have these statues, these places to worship, to represent these gods. And Paul sees one that says the unknown. And he, in his wisdom, because that connects his gospel with even somebody they were already sort of worshiping. And he said, since it's just a piece of concrete, it's a piece of rock, he said, this is the God we're talking about. This is the God who sent Jesus. This is the one who created the world. We are his offspring. In other words, this is God. I know it's an idol. We're not supposed to have idols, but he is using their own culture and connecting it to God, and therefore connecting people to God. They're not they're no longer worshiping the piece of rock, but now he's telling them of their true God and his true nature. Therefore, since we are God's offspring, we should not think of the divine being is like gold or silver or stone, an image made by human design and skill. In the past, God overlooked such ignorance. But now he commands all people everywhere to repent. For he has set a day when he will judge the world with justice by the man he has appointed. He has given proof of this to everyone by raising him from the dead. When they heard about the resurrection of the dead, some of them sneered, but others said, "We want to hear you again on this subject." At that, Paul left the council. Some of the people became followers of Paul and believed. Among them was Dionysius, a member of the Areopagus, also a woman named Damaris, and a number of others. So what he's done, he connects them with their God, with their tradition. And because that they can connect, some people believed. So you connect with the culture, with the people in a real level, that changes, that makes that connection, and that becomes receptive to the gospel. And that's exactly what he did. Okay, well, it's not been easy for Paul in chapter 17. He has had his opposition, but he continues to preach. He continues to find new ways to connect with people, and he continues to be God's servant, even among people who would do him harm. This is who he was, and this is our example as how we are to reach out to the people. Well, here we are. Chapter 17 is now in the can, and hopefully everything, as you continue with chapter 18 next week, we'll find out more about what's happening to Paul, and we continue to learn more and more about what it is for the original church, the early church, to reach people for Jesus Christ. Well, you have a good day. Please hit that share button so that we can all become evangelists. And may God bless you this morning and every morning as we greet the Lord together. Have a wonderful day.